Hey there, and welcome to One Life Church and our church online experience. My name is Daniel Hodges, and I'm one of the pastors here. If we don't know you, we would love to get to know you. So we'll put a link in the description of how you can reach out to us. And introduce yourself, text one of the staff members, or shoot us an email. We're so glad if you're new that you're taking the time to learn a little bit more about our church and tune in to the teachings from Sunday mornings. Now, we have an amazing thing coming up called Baptism Sunday. And we believe that following Jesus is the most important decision you can make in your life. You might have a lot of questions about that if you've never experienced that or if you've never made the decision to follow Jesus. And so I'm going to put a link in the description where you can find out more, a short little video, and then a form if you want to take that next step or you have more questions. So on August the 13th, that's when our Baptism Sunday is going to be. If you're around the Concord, Charlotte area and you want to join us in person on that day, that would be incredible. If you're viewing this for the first time and you're thinking about getting baptized, let us know, and we'd love to have you on that day, and we'd love to set up to make sure that you get to make the decision to follow Jesus for the rest of your life. Now, we're starting a teaching series today called Kingdom Truths, and it is imperative that we know what we believe about Jesus and how God operates in the world. And what we believe about how God operates in the world really affects everything in our lives. And so this is what this teaching series is about. We've got seven kingdom truths that we want you tuned into. And so today's teaching is the introduction where we unveil those 7 kingdom truths. Justin and Carrie will be walking us through those 7. And so I hope you stay tuned, and I hope that you are encouraged by what's to come in unpacking these 7 kingdom truths. Let's jump into the teaching now.
Hey everybody.
Hey.
My name is Justin.
I'm Carrie.
And thanks so much for hanging out with us today. We are going to introduce a brand new series of teachings that we're going to be walking through together over the next 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 1 week, and then there'll be 7 more weeks.
Yes.
So 8 total. And this is a conversation about what we call our kingdom truths here at One Life. And so at One Life, we have our vision statement. We have values that hold up our vision statement. We have core beliefs about different theological issues and different theological topics. And then we have these kingdom truths. And I think it's important for us today to really introduce these and explain why we call them kingdom truths.
Yes.
All right. So the first thing I want to look at is this word kingdom and then the word truths.
Okay.
So when we talk about kingdom, we are referring to the kingdom of God. So we are a people at One Life. We're a people bringing the kingdom of Jesus to earth, one life at a time, through intentional relationships. We're talking about the kingdom of God. What comes to mind whenever you think of the word kingdom and when you think of the kingdom of God?
I think of the church.
Okay. All right.
And not the building.
Okay.
The Big C church.
Big C church.
All Christians everywhere at all times.
Yes. Yeah. So Dallas Willard, I was telling you this. Dallas Willard says that often we will equate the kingdom of God with the church. And the church is a part of the kingdom of God. But the kingdom of God is the rule and reign of Jesus, which means it is everywhere at all times, all over the place. And the church has an opportunity to be a part of that. Sometimes we don't do a great job of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do a better job at that, but we are a part of the kingdom of God, which is the rule and the reign of Jesus.
So let me just clarify. So you're saying that the kingdom of God, or Dallas Willard is saying, the kingdom of God exists whether there are people to participate in it or not.
Yes. Which we see Jesus say things like the kingdom of heaven or the kingdom of God, and he interchanges those words, like is like. And yeah, I mean, it is everywhere. It's expansive. It doesn't require me to acknowledge it. Or, yeah, I mean, so I think what maybe a little bit confusing to me, and I've been wrestling this with our vision statement, which is we're a people bringing the kingdom of Jesus to earth, bringing that word.
Oh.
That
Yeah.
And so whenever we talk about that word bringing, it doesn't imply that the kingdom of God is not here if we don't bring it, because it is.
That's true.
But as followers of Jesus, One Life Church, everywhere we go, we want to be ushering in, we want to be participating in, we want to be bringing the good news of the kingdom of Jesus.
Yes.
Everywhere we go. So that helps me. Anything else about the kingdom that comes to mind for you?
No, but now that I'm thinking about it the way you phrased it, I can't wait to go through these kingdom truths in that light.
In that light?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, the word truths is that these are foundational. What comes to mind for you whenever you hear that word truth?
These are, I was telling you, like the pillars that hold up what we believe.
Yes.
Or one of the things that I've equated it with is like when you're doing a science experiment, you have to have a control. Something this is real, this is what's going to happen, this is what I can base everything else on. And then you've got your variables.
Ooh.
And you always test them against that control.
Yes.
So that's kind of how I view them.
That's great. I'm not going to add anything to that. That's fantastic. So then the second question that comes to my mind. So why do we call these statements kingdom truths? We're talking about the kingdom of God. We're talking about these, what are they called in the science?
Control.
These things that they don't change.
Right.
They are true. So what are we communicating? We are communicating who God is. So his character. We're communicating what God does in the world, how he moves in the world and how he moves in our lives. And then we're also communicating who we are and what we do in light of who God is.
Yes.
And what God does. So these kingdom truths, when you look at them, they encompass those three things: who God is, what God does, and then who we are and what we do in light of who God is and what God does. All right, I'm going to list these 7 truths, and then I'm going to ask you which one stands out to you.
Sure.
Now, I said 7. If you remember, if you've been around One Life for a while, you might be thinking, wait, there were 6.
Yeah, we've done this before.
We have done this before.
Yes.
And so you can actually go on our YouTube channel and find sermons about our 6 kingdom truths. And we as a staff team started wrestling with, is there a better way, a more clear way for us to communicate each one of these? And is there anything that we want to add to them?
Yes.
And anything that we wanted to take away?
Right.
And so these are these are the 7 kingdom truths that God is making making good news in our lives as a church family. And they're really important to our church.
Yeah, and I think it's important because, we were just saying truth doesn't change. It's not that we're changing what we believe.
Yeah.
It is over the course of, it's been 2 years, I think.
It has.
The past 2 years, if we as a church have walked through these kingdom truths, we've come across some tension points that we've had to wrestle with. And we've kind of, new things have been revealed, ways that we do see God moving that we haven't spoken to yet and that we want to speak to.
Hey, here's the thing. We're humans.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to wrestle with and articulate and describe the infinite
Exactly.
creator of all things. I don't know if this is true for you, but that's a really big deal and a hard thing to do.
Yeah. And I think it's really healthy for us to be able to evaluate and reflect on our faith and reflect on our discipleship and see where maybe we do need to adjust because God doesn't change.
He doesn't change. And he is continuously revealing himself to us. This is what I pray over my kids every day. God, reveal yourself to them so that they can see you. That's true in my life, true in your life, true in your life. God is revealing himself more and more to us so that we will know him, be able to see him. Hopefully our eyes are open, our ears are open so that we can experience him and embrace him. And so, that's what's been happening with these kingdom truths is God is revealing himself to us so that we can know him more, so that we can see him, so that we can follow him, so that we can articulate in really clear ways what it means for our church family.
Absolutely.
Right? All right, so let's go through these. Here they are. And they do work in order. They work in the order of that it's something that starts with relationship and then moves to a place of our living out or our doing. So our doing always flows from our being. And you'll see as that we work through these 7, it really starts with our being and who we are and moves to our doing. So here we go. Number 1 is the goal of discipleship is relationship with God. Number 2 is God is like Jesus, and in him there is no unChristlikeness. Number 3 is God is present right where we are. Number 4 is God is a strong foundation. He's the strong foundation on which we build our lives. Number 5 is God knows when to say enough, and so can we. Number 6 is what God does through us, he first does in us. Number 7 is God is on mission to restore all things and invites us to participate with him. Now, you can find all of those in the description below. We'll put a list of all of those in the description below. We would love to hear from you in the comments which one of those is a good reminder for you today. Which one grabs your attention today? Which one maybe stirred something up in you today? And that's what I want to ask you and I to share as we introduce this series. Next week, we're going to jump into number 1. I'll be teaching on that the goal of discipleship is relationship with God. So, and then we'll each work through them one at a time, 1 week at a time. But today, which one stirs something in you?
So the one that I've really been thinking about the past couple of days, and it's not because I'm preaching on it in a few weeks, but the God knows when to say enough, and so can we. I don't want to get into too much to reveal what we're going to talk about, but especially in creation with Sabbath, God knew when to stop. He didn't keep creating and keep working and keep working. And I think sometimes I am guilty of thinking there's always more I can do. And this week, I have especially tried to say, God knows when to say enough, and so can I. And I can say no. And I can say, this is a boundary for me. And I need rest. And I need to stop.
Now, I didn't prepare you for this, but I'm going to ask you to give me a specific example of when that happened. Maybe this week, maybe last week, but give me a specific example, because that's what discipleship is all about. Is these truths meeting us in our real life.
Yeah. So I have a side job where I do research for pastors of megachurches. And I have been working on a huge project for the past couple weeks. And I realized that I was working myself into a corner. And if I kept working, I wasn't going to be good to anybody. And so last Saturday, I knew I needed to do some work. And I said, enough. I'm not going to think about it today. I'm going to go play with my kids. I'm going to spend time with my family. We're going to watch a movie, and it's going to be great. And I didn't touch it the whole day. And I was able to come back the next day. And all those cobwebs that I was trying to fight through, they'd cleared. I was able to look at it with fresh eyes and finish strong.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I think God's been trying to teach our church about this idea of Sabbath.
Yeah, I really do too.
And I don't think it's just our church. I think it's culture as a whole and the church as a whole that we have neglected this beautiful gift that God has given us to say enough is enough.
Yeah.
And I told you this before we got on camera, but that was the one that I wanted to talk about. But you stole it. But I want you to know, as you're watching this, that this kingdom truth that Carrie is going to preach on in a few weeks is relevant to each one of us. I mean, it is so relevant. It's the moment of your workday when you get to that point and you realize there are still 50 things on your to-do list that you can say on a Wednesday, enough is enough. I'm going home. I'm not taking work with me. It will be here tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
It will be here tomorrow.
Absolutely.
It's always here. And that's the thing with work is there's always more to do. And so learning how this is part of becoming the human that God has created us, learning how to say enough. I can't keep doing this. And if we don't do that, then our identity and our value and our worth is determined by what we produce. And if it's determined by what we produce, man, I can never say enough.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It also shows up, I thought, in if you're having a disagreement with your spouse or an argument with a friend, that there's a point you don't have to argue that thing to its end.
Yeah.
Like we talk about this in pre-marriage counseling and marriage counseling. Nicole and I talk about this with new couples, like that. There's a point with our fighting, if it's 10:30 at night and we're both exhausted, you can look at each other and say, enough.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
And go to sleep.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Don't let the sun go down in your anger. That's figurative.
It is not applying to that situation. You need to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And rest. It's okay to say enough is enough, you know? And so, man, I'm looking forward to that sermon. You're going to kill it.
I'm excited about it.
All right. The one that stands out to me is we had this conversation as a staff. Are there any truths that God is revealing to us that are not on this list? And Daniel said one that I think it just left us all speechless.
Yeah.
And it was that God is the strong foundation on which we build our lives.
Yeah.
And when he said it, it set me back in my chair, and I thought, man, that is so true and so relevant to the world today, because we all know that the levels of anxiety, the experiences of anxiety and stress and depression and suicide and all of those things it's like this. It's on a straight up rise.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And I believe that part of that is because everything is changing at a rate at which it's never changed before.
Absolutely.
So everything is shifting sand. Mm-hmm. Everything is moving all the time. Nothing is ever the same. And when Daniel said that, I thought that's what we need. Mm-hmm. We need to be reminded that God is the strong foundation. He is the rock, Matthew chapter 7, that we build our lives on, and he is not going to move. He strengthens our legs. Mm-hmm. He makes us stand up. He helps us stand up when things are all moving and changing all of the time. For me, what that looks like is, man, I feel like working in the vocation that I work in the church. 15 years ago, we could go through 2 or 3 years where things didn't change, and you could do the same thing for 2 or 3 years, and it worked. Mm-hmm. Now I think it's like 6 months.
Oh yeah.
And things change so fast. And so I was just talking to Kim Jackson, our friend from Elder Orphan Care, and she was saying that she's felt pressure to put these 5-year, 7-year, 10-year goals together. And I was like, that's fine. That's great. That's the way we used to do it. Mm-hmm. The problem is that in 5 years, they're going to be obsolete because everything changes so fast.
Yeah.
Do you experience that?
Oh, absolutely. I think especially the past couple of years, we saw that our entire culture, society, world, everything can change in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And we lived through it.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of kicked up a notch.
Yes.
We've done change before. We can do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we went snorkeling when we were in the Florida Keys during sabbatical. And before I was 40, I never got seasick. But now that I'm over 40, I think something changed in my... Nicole says something changed in my ears. And so I didn't get my sea legs.
Oh.
I was very wobbly and very pale. Okay. And that's how I feel most of the time. And I'm sure that you can relate to that.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't seem like I can get my sea legs. And so when Daniel said that, I was like, dude, that is such good news for me because I need something that I can stand on that doesn't change and doesn't shift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's not, gosh, do we have like an hour to talk? Because I get really motion sick too. Mm-hmm. And someone once told me, like, whenever you're feeling motion sick, think about where your feet are standing. Mm-hmm. And when you think about your feet, it changes your perception in your ears and it helps.
Yeah.
So yeah, think about where your feet are standing.
Yeah. All right. Those are the ones for us that stand out. There's 7 of them. We're going to be preaching through them over the next 7 weeks. And I hope that this is a good conversation for you. And I hope that you will stick with us over the next 7 weeks. I hope that you'll come and join us in person, 10:30 a.m. on a Sunday, and that you will dig into these kingdom truths so that you can get to know who God is, what God is doing in the world, what God's doing in your life, and what it means for you, what it looks like in your life in real time. So thanks so much.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to next week and diving into these. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Bye-bye.
See you.